Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Drag Racing Live, where we get to bench race with the world's top drag racers. My name is Bill Pratt. I'm here with John Bachman, of course. And tonight on Drag Racing Live, we welcome Liz Leggett, a nine-time land speed record holder, freelance photojournalist, and driver of the blown D-class Fuel Lakester, known as the Iron Dinosaur. From land speed racing to motorsports media and her work with the Jessi Combs Foundation, Liz, my dear friend, joins us to share her incredible journey across racing disciplines and the stories behind chasing speed on the salt. So, oh my gosh, Liz Leggett, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, John, as well.
We're thrilled to have you here, and I was so excited. I kind of want to go all over everything we talked about there, plus a lot of other cool stuff. But let's jump right into it. Nine land speed world records, are an incredible accomplishment. What is it about land speed racing that hooked you and made you want to chase records on the salt?
Well, Bonneville and land speed racing in general, when you really go back, even pre World War One, and just the pursuit of speed in general, you end up getting the stories, of course, Daytona, and you end up hearing about this place Bonneville that ended up becoming this mecca of speed for so many years. And then you go to the 60s and the battle between Breedlove and all these amazing stories, and it's like these are these epics that I've always learned about. But then getting to photograph it in 2012 for the first time as a photojournalist, I'd already been working for many years, but Bonneville had always been this like place that not only had this like ethereal store, all these ethereal stories, but the entire atmosphere of a salt desert between, the graceful land of Salt Lake City and the sinful land of Las Vegas. Right in the middle is this barren salt lake where time and speed blend together. And how can you not be drawn to a story like that? It's pretty epic of a place.
That's amazing, but you have to put it together. Are all the nine records in the same category? Are obviously different, or I should say not obviously, but different categories? But do you do them in some of the same cars, just set up differently, or is it a bunch of different cars?
Yeah, so so all of my land speed records are in the Iron Dinosaur. And so one of the things that's interesting about land speed is that you're setting a record in that engine class for that record. So if there's an open record, which is what a lot of strategic racers, there's a lot of strategy when it comes to land speed, all different racing, but land speed racing is what records you go for. So of course you have teams like the Kowalski Customs team where they have multiple cars, but then multiple engines, and they swap them out and go for different records. The Iron Dinosaur is always the Iron Dinosaur with the same engine, but we've gone for records, or I started off in classes that sometimes had an open record. And so every time I would run, for example, ECTA, I hold many records at ECTA. That's what I hold them in, not at SCTA yet. The record at SCTA for a blown fuel Lakester currently sits at 344 miles an hour, held by Anita Strasberg. So that's the record in the class at Bonneville that I need to work my way up to, or want to work my way up to. But through ECTA, I was able to attain 9 land speed records. And it's truly an honor to even have any seat time, not to mention a record, or 9. It's just absolutely mind blowing. And I'm thankful for every second that I get to race that car. So anything I can get, I'm just thankful for.
That's really amazing. Oh my gosh. And so where do you run? Is it all out in the Salt Lake or do you run elsewhere? Because there you mentioned so ECTA, let's explain what that is compared to SCTA. And
Oh,
is there a difference in terms of where you race?
absolutely. So the ECTA is the East Coast Timing Association.
Hmm.
ECTA, we've been to their events at the Arkansas Blytheville Airport. So it's an old SAC base. So SAC bases, they were built extra big, extra
Hmm.
long and wide for the bombers. And so that's a wonderful place to go racing. So it's nice, flat, drains wonderfully. So if you get a smattering of rain, it's not a problem. But the ECTA also run a streetcar event at the Bonneville Salt Flats. But the racing that we do at the Bonneville Salt Flats is under the SCTA ruling. So it's the Southern California Timing Association. So the SCTA is like the oldest standing people that race there. There's also
Mhm.
USAC, and there's a few other people that like do racing events like the Bub Motorcycle Rally. So there are other events that take place at Bonneville, but the ones that we've gone to are Speed Week, which is SCTA, and then we've gone to Arkansas, which is ECTA, and
Mhm.
then recently I got to go up to Loring, Maine, all the way up north, which is right next to the Canadian border. And
Wow.
so they joke, if you go off the end of the track, you better have your passport because you can see Canada, and it's true. You're right there. So we went all the way up there. I've only been up there once. We're hoping to go back. We're waiting for them to announce their dates, hopefully in July. But Bonneville's always the first week of August, and we're going to Arkansas in we're going to be there from the May 1st and 2nd. So we're going to be there
Wow.
very soon. So that's my next attempt at going fast is going to be
Beautiful.
ECTA.
Well,
Yeah.
that'll answer one of our later questions is where can we come find you? But we'll
Yeah.
get to
Oh,
that. That's so amazing. So tell us a little more about the Iron Dinosaur. I mean, is that it behind me here? And
yes.
what's she all about?
She's absolutely a fantastic vehicle. So she was designed and built by Don Gilmore out of Pittsburgh. And so I was the team photographer, and that's how I ended up getting the gig, as they say. So that car, as you said, it's a D class, which refers to the engine size. So it's a 302 dart block. It's an LS dart block, 302. B for blown because it's got twin turbos, precision turbos. That's putting out 40 pounds of boost. BFL. So lakes fuel is because we burn C85 methanol, so we're in a fuel class. You
Hmm.
can run gasoline or anything in a fuel class from gasoline like nitro C85 but and lower, but you can't do the reverse. So if you're in a
Right.
gas class, you're stuck with gas, but she's
Right.
already at C85 methanol. So it helps with cooling and all that. And
Hmm.
then L stands for Lakester, which is the body style. So when you have for example, a belly tank is technically a Lakester because it's open wheel. When you have
Right.
enclosed wheel, that's when it's considered a streamliner. So that's
Gotcha.
the alphabet soup, as we call it, on the side of the car. So that's the designation of the vehicle. And the reason she's called the Iron Dinosaur was because when she was being built in the basement of an 18 something hundred school in Pittsburgh, which is where she was built, they took a piece of steel bar and they welded it at one end of the frame, and they took it and they bent it back to make it this very organic kind of shape. And then when they started building the exoskeleton, because it was originally a belly tank and then became a Lakester, they built this exoskeleton. They came down into the basement one night and it was all illuminated and it looked like a giant rib cage. And when it's an Iron Dinosaur, and that's kind of how it got its name. At least that's how I've been told the story. So
I love it. Well, I wouldn't change a thing. That's the
yeah,
story that needs to be. Well,
yeah.
folks, we are talking to Liz Leggett. Like, share, tell your friends. Liz is here live, and start getting your questions and comments ready because JB is going to do the Q&A time right here at about 8:30 Eastern time or at the 30 mark, no matter where you are. So, man, that's fantastic. Liz, tell us a little bit about your freelance photojournalism. I love your vibe. Everything
Oh,
I can't even put a word to it. It's kind of a little bit hot rod pinup, a little bit like, what where we're looking at behind you. But tell us about, kind of where you go visually when you're trying to capture this stuff. And I love it from all the paint that I've seen on the cars, all the artwork involved with you, the way you dress, right? You just have this vibe going on. Tell us a little bit about where your head's at on that.
oh man, that's a wonderful question. That's very well posed. So I think at one point many years ago, someone had asked me a few questions, and they came up with something like a abundant enthusiasm. And I truly do have that word, I think, associated with me quite often because I really, truly am just enthusiastic and excited about everything. And I'm very, very fortunate through the art of photography to be able to capture how I see the world every day. And everything to me, absolutely everything is fascinating. Everybody's beautiful in their own way if you look at them in the right way. Every car has a personality, every plant has an interesting leaf. Everything is just so fascinating, and I enjoy every second of existing. So I think it's almost like a celebration of every little thing that I see that gives me a sense of whimsy or color or anything that I see. And the car world is just absolutely chock full of amazing characters, beautiful paint jobs, sunsets at the drag strip with burnouts happening, with the smoke coming on this. Oh, it's just everything is so visceral at a racetrack. Everything about existing. You're living on the edge of speed. There's hot chicks in really nice clothes, and you're like, seeing kids having their minds blown for the first time and falling in love with a car and a team, and just all these amazing, incredible celebrations of just like, well, that's really cool. And I was speaking at a drag race event for the Pittsburgh International Dragway. They had a reunion, and they were kind enough to have me there. And I was kind of thinking like, what you guys did it's undeniably cool. It's fire, it's nitro, it's just everything exciting. And I truly just try to capture all the things that the people around me do and say and create that I appreciate about them. The cars that my friends build, the outfits they put on, and then like my green hair, for example, everybody asks why, and it's there's so many reasons. I tell them, oh, I'm overheated, so I have a Prestone leak, and then oh, I'm a rat fink. Rat fink was like the anti Mickey Mouse, so where most chicks are kind of like trying to be pretty, I'm just like covered in grease and green hair. And then there's also like 20 other reasons that I've come up over time with why I have green hair, and like nitro flames, they're green, so there's like nitro green flames. And so there's I think that I'm friends with a lot of older people. I've attended a lot of celebrations of life in the last few years, and life is too short not to wear a funky fun outfit to make your friends laugh. Like I just made a giant cardboard head for the checkered flag. We have a character named Paxton in honor of Lynn Paxton. And so I decided for the checkered flag event on May 16th, well, they used to make fun outfits and mascots and used to celebrate and, do things that were exciting. And so I decided to make a giant cardboard head for people to pass around and pretend they're the mascot and do. I just think life's more fun if you have fun, and people like to be around fun. So why not? It's just make somebody laugh,
I love it. Well, I mean, everybody I've ever met has said the same thing about you, and I've experienced myself firsthand, right? Your enthusiasm is palpable and infectious, and everybody just has an awesome time whether you're with us. And I do love it, right? We're living on the edge. We are living life at
Yeah.
the races, right? Which is amazing.
Yeah.
So,
You're part of the beautiful people that I get to meet. See,
woohoo.
I've met you through racing, and this is the thing. I've had so many incredible experiences and met so many amazing people that like I've never once doubted, the crazy, difficult life path that I've chosen. But it's because nothing easy is worth it. You have to go through trials and tribulations to truly get somewhere or do something that's worth it. But this is where I get to sit and get to speak with people like you and race amazing cars. And so, yeah, it's worth it.
Thank you. As John says, life is good.
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about the Jessi Combs Foundation. I'd love to learn more about that. I kind of read it in the bio, but I have to admit that I don't recall what that is.
Yes. So Jessi Combs was a fellow racer and builder, and she passed away doing a land speed record. She's known and currently is the world's fastest woman. And she passed away in the attainment of that record, but she holds it. So she followed her dreams, and she has it's not an association, it's a charity really that's in her honor, and that she had started, that supports women in the trades. And so they reached out to me and asked if I would be willing to work with them or mention them, and I said absolutely. And I'm very big for, of course, there's young women in racing, and I have a lot of young girls that I speak to, but I'm definitely big on like anybody who wants to get into like racing or the trades or anything like that. Any way that I can bring attention to young people or help support that in any way, I'm all about it. Like I got to be across from the Hot Rodders of Tomorrow at
Hmm.
PRI, and they asked if they could come over and talk. I said, absolutely, come on over. And so the Jessi Combs Foundation, they give scholarships to young women that are already, you have to already be in the trades, but they'll end up, I met several women that are super cool chicks that like are into racing and building and on race teams, and they got their opportunities through the sponsorships that they provided. And so for me, I'm like, absolutely anything, if I can mention them and bring attention to that, I'm all about it, because we need young people in the trades, and we need young people to feel supported and feel cared about. And I do truly feel that anybody who does that is something I can support. So I gladly support them in anything they do for that.
Thank you so much. And yeah, 2 seconds after you started mentioning it, I said, of course I know exactly who you're talking about now. I
That's all
didn't
right. That's all
she's
right. Well, that's
amazing.
yeah. They always say that there's, people only pass away when you stop talking about them. So
Hmm.
people like Jessi are one the type of people that, as long as we kind of, speak about them and about their accomplishments, and there it's. I was learning the other day. I was learning some fascinating stuff about Amelia Earhart and
Hmm.
about her tragic loss. But it was also, I think, what was interesting to me was that they were speaking about how it was more like her story of her accomplishments that had inspired so many people to go on and do so many things, that during that that time, all these things like her ailments and her difficulties, they all fell off the story. And the
Right.
thing that you're what you really try to do, even if you don't necessarily succeed, or you do succeed and there's tragedy, there's always something positive that can come from it. And I
Right.
thought that was interesting. And I think that Jessi's story is very much like that. It's something that so much positive seems to, in what I've perceived, seems to have come
Mm.
from that, which is interesting.
I love that. I do agree. And I love that sentiment, which I've heard elsewhere. It's been a while, that you don't really pass until people stop talking about you. So
Mhm.
Jessi, Amelia, the great Amelia Earhart, who crossed the
Mhm.
Atlantic and
Mhm.
came damn close to across the Pacific.
Mhm.
And we just never
Incredible.
know. But
Yeah,
that's
incredible.
well, legends. Oh my gosh. Well, let's talk about one other team of legends. I think you're great teammates and friends to all on the East Coast and all really across the country, or the Kowalski Racing team. Tell us a little
Yes.
bit about that relationship and how it is working with them and some of the cool things you have going on there.
So that's one of my most cherished relationships for sure. So EJ Kowalski, who is a legend in the hot rodding world, as many people know his name, not only from putting on race events on the East Coast, but also racing at Bonneville. He's Not a lot of people seem to know that. I don't know how. When he was 18 years old, he was the pilot of the Swamp Rat 33, Don Garlitz's streamliner that was out there. EJ at
Wow.
18 years old was the driver. And so they worked on that car. It had crashed previously, and EJ and his dad helped work on the car and fix it up, and they were running that car. So at 18, he was doing that. And so he puts on the Vintage Eliminator races, which are the races that I get to do at South Mountain and Mason-Dixon, which is the vintage drag races events.
Hmm.
He put on a drag race event at the Allentown Fairgrounds as well, which is where we met. We met because I was working, I believe it was for Old School Rods, was one of the magazines. I believe it was Old School Rods, and I did an article on the event. And I just passed by. Oh, hey, I was living in the area, and met him because he was the event organizer, and did an article. And he was all surprised that it was for that, because I didn't tell him. I surprised him, and then all of our became friends with all of our racing, and I kept seeing him at events that I would be at, and then I'd see him at Bonneville, and it's like, this person is everywhere I go. And so eventually he asked me if I wanted to go drag racing with my dad, and so we went. And then he needed help, or didn't. He doesn't need help ever. He does everything himself. He builds the car, he paints the car, races the car. You name it, he does it. So doesn't need any help. So I'm very fortunate to get to call myself his plucky sidekick now. He asked if I would be willing to help him work on the Pure Hell Funny car that he was restoring single handedly. And he was at the point where he was working on the carbon fiber body, and it was just by chance that I had previously, in back in the day, I worked at Valhalla Auto Restoration, and I was working with Munch Gonzalez as a paint prep and assistant. So I had several years of paint. Munch does like high level lowrider paint. So if you need to learn how to mask off a car and clean it over and
Hmm.
over again, lowriding paint is definitely a good way to cut your teeth at mask outs and stuff like that. So I was like, well, I'll help you. I'd love to help you if that's okay. Can I help? And so he said yes. And so we worked on that together, and then ended up bringing the car to California, meeting Rich. Then I got to crew on the Pure Hell Altered for which was, I was of course just baby
Bitching.
powdering the oil pan and stuff like that. Doesn't matter. It's Rich Guasco's pure hell. It's insane. So there was just so many things that kept coming up, and then he has all these cars that he allows me to get to race on weekends, and so I work with him restoring cars, and now we're working on the checkered flag, which is it was previously known as the Jalopy Showdown. It's in association with the Eastern Museum of Motor Racing, and the show had stopped, but we're friends with Larry, Scary Larry as he's been known. Not scary, he's super nice. And so through Larry and through the museum, and EJ and I are now going to be hosting that show at the Lattimore Valley Fairgrounds on May 16th. So invite your friends. We're going to have the mud runs again so people can get all filthy if they'd like. And then we're going to have vintage race cars displaying and then bands. And yeah, it should be a good time. So I'm very fortunate to have any association with that man whatsoever. But him and his mom, Donna, they've allowed me to be part of the crew. And I've gotten to work on the flathead, on the Arden for the 200-mile-an-hour record, and then we built the Purple People Eater together in 9 days, and then drove to California in 48 hours. And it's going to be in a YouTube video we're doing. So we have all kinds of fun. So it's really, I'm a very lucky girl.
Fantastic. Well, we were chatting just before the show, and you said you guys have actually been out there running the vintage cars. In fact, this last weekend. Tell us how that went. Give us a little
Well,
recap.
yesterday we were at South Mountain Raceway, which is one of the best. It's in Boiling Springs, right by the Lattimore Valley Fairgrounds. And so it's a wonderful vintage style, old school racetrack. And so we had 16 cars. It rained in the morning, but we still had 16 cars come out. They dried the track. They do, Mike Natoli and the track guys, they do an amazing job prepping the track. And so we're so thankful. They cleared it out. We had coffee and French fries, and we were ready to go. And we had the 16 car field went out, and I was running the Larry Bayish Special, which is a flathead V8. And I ended up going to, it was the semifinal, and then it started raining right at about the 60-foot mark. So my competitor, which just happened to be EJ Kowalski in the Purple People Eater, doing its debut. So I'm racing a car I helped build, and I'm watching it, and we're going, and he had passed me because, he cuts a wicked light. And so he's passed me, but about the 60-foot mark, it had already started raining up at the top end. So he got a little bit squirrely. He let off, and I flew past him. So I'm going to be in the final race, which is going to be held on June 7th, right before our next part of the race. So I get to find out. It's a cliffhanger until June 7th. So we're going to find out what happens in the next episode.
Awesome. Just like the old Batman TV show. Same bat time, same bat channel.
You got it.
I love it. Well, folks, get your questions ready. About 7 minutes or so, we'll start doing some Q&A with Liz, and let's talk about adrenaline. So you've driven the blown D-class Fuel Lakester, the Iron Dinosaur, in extreme speeds. What's been the most intense or unforgettable run of your career so far?
It's another fantastic question. And it's funny because you'd think it'd be one where like something went wrong, or like, because I've had all kinds of things like that go on. But I do believe that probably the most memorable one was because it took so many trials and tribulations to finally get that first run in the Dinosaur. Because I got the offer in like 2019, but it took all the way to 23 for me to actually get to successfully do a run because of so many rainouts, so many parts failures or issues. And so really, I do believe that the first time when I went down the track at Arkansas in May 2023, and it wasn't a fast pass, it's just a licensing pass. But to me, after so many years of trying for that one and so much visualization, and like a couple of times doing bailouts in the bathtub with the suit on just to feel like I'm like, okay, just kind of thinking of or line, just really wanting it to happen for so many years. And then finally for that run to happen, it was just pure elation, I think is the only word that comes to mind, really. So that was probably one of my favorites. And I was just like, yay! It was great.
I love it. Well, let's go the other way then. It's racing comes with a lot of challenges. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you on the salt or getting to an event?
Craziest. Oh, I think probably one of the most emotional ones, which wasn't me racing, but must have been, we were up at the top end, Dad and I, because we have our media passes. And when Danny Thompson accomplished that record run, we were at the top end when he pulled over, and I got to shoot. And I just saw the photo again. It was on the cover of the newsletter, I think it was. And seeing him up at that top end with his mom and like get out the car. And of course, it was like media frenzy. But that moment just before that, with him getting out of the car and knowing, because I had followed Danny for many years and I had met him years prior, and I'd gone to the shops in California and photographed them building the car. So I really had like a kind of emotional attachment to the story, even though, it's everybody's story. It's the story of Mickey Thompson, and what an epic story. But to then get to meet Danny and then to follow that along, but to be at that top end and get to witness, as my dad, he wrote something, a very good paragraph about it, but he explained it almost like watching the man walk on the moon. It's like one of those really incredible moments in history. Or like when imagining like what was it like to be standing there when Breedlove got his record, like it was getting to be present for one of those moments where you're there, you're photographing, your experience, and then you realize, oh man, this is one of those moments. That was probably one of the most quote unquote crazy. That was pretty crazy. Not like dangerous, or I've seen plenty of bad, dangerous, crazy things, but that to me was like, whoa, that's crazy. We were there for that. So that was pretty crazy.
I love it. Well, let's talk about, and so the Iron Dinosaur, we talked about the skeleton as we build it, and you got it put together after quite a lot of all kinds of problems happening. But tell us about what goes into preparing a land speed car to safely chase records at those speeds, just before the event or leading up to the event.
Yeah. So you do always go through an inspection. So that's one of the really good things about it. You do go through an inspection. They check out anything that's been changed on the car. It's very thorough if it's a new car. If you're planning on building a land speed car, which I thoroughly encourage everyone who's interested to do it and go on one of these forums. There's always people building stuff and they need help. And if you want to participate in land speed, it's very possible for you to get into it. But the preparation very much begins at the building stage. You have to have a rule book, and you go through. I have a friend, Bradley Duncan, who's on our team, on the Iron Dinosaur team, and he's currently building a streamliner. He's going to be bringing it out unfinished. This is smart, to Arkansas to bring it through inspection while he's building it, so that he can actually see and tweak it and show it to other builders. And that's an interesting thing compared to other, at F1, if you walk past the pit, they're covering up everything and they don't want you to see. At land speed, they're like, come on in. You want it? Oh, I don't suggest doing that. Do it this way. And so really, I think that and is a huge part of the preparation. But then on a personal level, you have to do bailouts before you do a run. But personally, I've done bailouts, even though you're signed off on a bailout. I like to do one every time, which you don't have to do, but I like kind of doing it just because I'm a dork and I like doing it and just kind of muscle memory. And I used to do a competitive marksmanship, and there was a lot of if you have like a gross movement, once you like do it many, many times, it becomes like motor memory, and
Right.
it just becomes part of it. And so I know that from that sport, that was something repetition will help you. And especially if you're like, on fire, which is when you need to do a bailout, your brain wants to go on autopilot. So the more times you can kind of sit there and go through the oh bleep moment in your head, sit in a chair, close your eyes, go through it like, okay, you've got to stop the car. Then what you got? All right, you've got to do this. You got to take the belts off. You got to make sure those are off. You got to go. You got to pull that up. You got to push that up. You got to make sure you duck down, and all these little things that you just got to practice in your mind. And then, of course, if you're doing a different vehicle, it's a completely different thing. So I got to do a bailout in one of the Kowalski vehicles just to learn. Very different process, completely different process. So the more, as they say, for any racing, seat time, be it in a moving vehicle or even just sit in the pit, close your eyes, where are all the controls with your eyes closed? Do you know where the fire bottles are? Do you know where your shutoff switches are? with your eyes closed. So there's a lot of things like that that you can do to personally prepare. And then your team, because the team, like cars in Pittsburgh, my team, I'm very thankful to them. I always want to go and work on the car, but they say it's okay, we got it. And so they've been upgrading, changing things. I got the car for a month solid, and I sanded and repainted the frame because corrosion is a big factor in salt flats racing. You're racing on the most corrosive thing, so you have to usually completely take apart a vehicle and clean it. And so the Dinosaur had nooks and crannies that needed help. So I'd spent a month hand painting the frame and hand regraining the entire body because there's no other way to do it. So I did a video on my YouTube channel detailing a 24-foot long car, and it took a month, but those are things that they don't have time to do that. They have lives and they're doing this on their weekends. So whatever I can put into the car, they brought it to me, and I lived in that trailer, and that was my little home base, and I loved every second of it because I got to put back into the car my appreciation for the team, for the journey, and I just put my all into it. So those are, I think, the things you can do to prepare.
Oh, just amazing. Well, let's go to our chat group, led by the great JB here, and find out what the Super Crew's got to ask for Liz Leggett tonight. John, who's out there?
We are very, very busy here tonight. We got people from coast to coast, and we have some motorsports legends in the group as well. Of
Oh,
course,
no.
we're all legends in our own minds, but these are cool people.
Oh,
Randy
dear.
Johnston in Northern California, he said, "Good evening, all. Good evening, all. Bonneville is the last bastion of grassroots hot rodding."
I agree.
And he said the home office for the SCTA is a tiny farm town in Central California, in Cutler, California. And he came in later because you were talking about your history in the sport, Liz, and he said, well, she has quite a background. Our sport is blessed to have her
Oh,
part of it. And he said he loves the moon banner,
oh,
which we
excellent.
all do.
Thank you so much.
Rob McCabe checked in. He's our statistician. He said, good evening, working on getting some drag list entries done. And Edward Radeski
Yes.
said, Miss Elizabeth, when did you realize you wanted to drive race cars professionally? Now, I think you talked about this a little bit earlier, but let's
Yeah.
take care of Edward real quick.
Excellent. Hi, Ed. It's good to hear from you. So I believe I was actually just speaking with my father about when I first started going to races, and so we figured it's probably um, about when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I got to go to an event. I think that was a karting event with shifter carts when shifter carts were there, and I was before I started taking photos, but watching those guys, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then growing up watching and photographing, and so I started when I was 10. I truly feel like it was always like, man, I really would love to do that. And then you're asking questions as a journalist, but you're more coming from the like, well, what's it feel like? Well, what's it like going into this corner? And you're almost doing like constant R&D for 25 years, like getting to interview, people like, Patrick Carpentier, or I got to meet Vic Ottelbrock, and like I won't do the name drop thing because it would go forever because of how lucky I am. But every time I spoke to someone, it was a little bit more like, all right, adding that to the list of things to remember. Oh, what did so and so say about going into the corner? Oh, okay, because I've loved to do road racing too one day. So every time I would learn from a racer, I think that added a little bit more and a little bit more of like, man, I really want my chance one day. Maybe one day, maybe one day somebody will see that, like, as long as you stay sticking around, that you show how passionate you are, that maybe one day someone will give you the chance to be in the seat. And one day, it took a while, but one day somebody did give me the chance, and I've never stopped. So probably the first time, one of my earliest memories is watching NASCAR at our first house we moved out of when I was 3. So probably early childhood was when I first started watching racing and going, that looks like fun. His earliest memories.
Oh, that's incredible. That's fantastic. Multi Moose 29 said, "Go Liz, go." and TFP 5545. See, I don't know the names of these people, but the way the chat board works is they put their email handle or whatever, their ID in there. And he said Don is awesome and Liz is great too. And Subtle Hustle Moto said Don Gilmore is such a cool dude, and he tells me that Liz is pretty rad too.
Sounds cool.
Kyle Michelson is with us, and he said, Liz, you put the cool in cool. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you at Speed Week.
Oh man, well, I was thinking about him just the other day when I was watching them drop the capsule, because he does parachutes, and man, I was thinking of him the other day. That was one of the most exciting things to watch, was that trip to the moon. So, but thank you for commenting. I was thinking about you just the other day.
Well, Kyle is incredible, man. For what he's done with those rocket cars.
Amazing. Legend.
Yeah, he is.
Honored to know him.
Speaking of legends, Jack Red is with us tonight, and he said, good evening, everybody. Dale Broderick and Lisa are with us, and he said that their car was in Old School Rods a few years ago. I think you mentioned Old School Rods.
Yeah.
Hi
guys, we missed you Sunday.
Yeah, D-Main said Liz comes from a great stock. Speed is in her blood. And I posted that I thought it was very cool that you cackled a surfer's dragster.
That was bonkers. And that the way that ended up happening was really funny. So I'm at the starting line at Bonneville with my buddy Jim, who has a very long-standing career as editor of like every cool magazine that ever existed. And so Jim McCraw talks to me about drag racing, and he's like, this is weird, this chick loves drag racing. I'm talking to him all about how much I love it. And then the next year he's there with this tall, handsome fellow, and he goes, I wanted to introduce you to my friend. Tell him how much you love drag racing. And so I'm not aware of who this gentleman is. Of course, then I go, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, you should really come to my show next year. And he invites me to his show and gives me credentials. And that was Steve Gibbs. So I told Steve Gibbs all about drag racing, how cool it was. And so I got to go to that. And so, yes. Anyway, I'm just, so thank you.
That's great. So, well, hang on now. Come on. So you met Steve Gibbs, who we all love and respect, of course, but then you got to cackle the famous surfer's car. So
I was going to say that was through Jim and going to the Nitro Revival. And that, I didn't expect that. Actually, it's truly, I need to say a shout out to Mr. Kaplan, Dan Kaplan, because he was supposed to do a cackle in that car, and he gave up his seat for me. And I will never forget that, because an amazing photographer that I know from Bonneville. But the fact that he did that was truly, it touched me, because he gave me an opportunity that he could have taken for himself and said, hell no, chickie, go away. But he truly made something so special. And to go on that line of fire, and that was one of the most amazing moments ever. And it solidified my obsession with Nitro, literally being there with every one of those, looking that way. There's, Tommy Ivo over there. And then there's like, it's just everybody that's sitting right there on that line. And it was because he let me do that. And so I can't thank Bob enough for that. Also, I got to, that same weekend, I got to cackle Gentleman Joe's car as well. And that was a little bit like, oh my gosh, like what a weekend that was. That was bonkers cool. But yeah, so Nitro Revival is very, very amazing. One of the most incredible things, because for someone who didn't get to be there, it's almost as close as I can get to being there. Going to, race events with these folks is really a window into a world that I am fortunate to still be able to catch a glimpse of. I'm just, people are still cackling these cars. They're still running nostalgia events. They're still doing vintage racing, and I'm literally gonna soak up every single bit of it I can and celebrate it and document it, because I'm like a fourth generation photographer. So you know, we have glass plate negatives in my house from World War I. Like it's
Wow.
an intrinsic part of who we are as Leggetts, is documenting and saving and preserving history. So for me, I take it as almost like a, not a responsibility, but if you love something so much, then the best thing you can do is dedicate your life to it, you know?
I'll sign up for that. Sounds
Yeah.
good. John, anybody else, sir, or yourself? You had a couple thoughts, didn't you?
Yes, we still have them coming in, and I have a question I'll ask in a minute here. Uh, DF Motorsport Magazine replied to Kai, the Rocket Man.
Yes. So cool.
I keep wanting to say Kyle because my oldest son is Kyle.
Oh,
And he said, I'm not cool. I just know cool people.
yeah. That's exactly how I feel. I just know the coolest people. So
And
lucky.
he came back and said, no one has a heart for the sport like Liz.
Oh, thank you.
Neil Miller said, way to go. I love you, granddaughter.
I love you, Neil, Grandpa Neil. Oh, he's one of the sweetest. I love him.
Pete Moriello said, I met Liz at Irwindale for the Nitro revival. She's enthusiastic is an understatement for her passion for racing.
Thank you.
It's the best. Well, so while we're talking about Pete and his funny car, let me ask you this, Liz, because you and the Kowalskis actually brought a funny car across the United States, right? That you guys had been working on. Is that the Pure Hell car, or was
Yeah.
that a different one?
Nope, that is that car. And that was one of the reasons why EJ was kind enough to allow me to help work on that project. Was Rich, he'd been working as like on that team for many, many years. He was also the crew chief for Bruce Larson for quite a long time. So EJ has, and so when he was building that car, the restoration of the funny car, so it was the original Tom Hanna tin and everything in the original frame. They had a new demon body made, carbon fiber, needed to do the body work. And then Nitro Revival was coming up, and that was really the push, was we need to finish this and get it to Nitro Revival to do an unveiling for Rich, because Rich is not in the best of health at that point. And it was like, can we do it? It's like, no, we're gonna do it. And we just late nights, we actually finished painting the car and pulled it outside once it actually had already been dark. It was already nighttime, loaded the car into the trailer and left for California in the morning with the car still like curing and off gassing. So it was funny. I think it was Cindy Gibbs or Jill Guasco, when we got there, we opened up the car. They're like, oh my gosh, it's like off gas. It smells like fresh paint. And it's like, don't put your hands on the body too long. It was like really fresh, and getting to unveil that which is heart-wrenching that Irwindale's gone. That's just so sad. That really bugs me, because that has, you know, so many memories. It's not my home track, but man, what a place. And so getting to unveil that car to Rich and the family. And then the big thing was, after we were done, it is currently Gesundheit.
Yeah, bless you.
It's currently sitting in the Lions Museum.
Wow.
And I always wanted to go to the Lions Museum, but getting to go to the Lions Museum after hours to deliver a car that I got to help build, and then walking around in the hollowed halls of the Lions Drag Strip Museum, looking at everything and just being like, I somehow have gotten this privilege of getting to be a part of this world that I'm so excited and love so much. And I still can't fathom that I am involved. And so anytime someone wants to talk to me, and I've received several awards which blow my mind, like the Gold Dust Memories Award, or, you know, the drag racing list. It's just all these incredible people giving me recognition is just blowing me, because I'm just thankful to even get to know them or spend time with them. And I love them, and I try to celebrate every person that I get to meet in every car through my photography and through my enthusiasm, and I try to share it with everybody. Yeah.
Oh, mission accomplished. And that their Pure Hell car was beautiful. I was able to see it in that bright Irwindale, California sunshine. It was a work of art.
Thank you. It's such an honor. And man, that's candy paint. That was EJ Kowalski laid that down like beautiful. And that's the hard thing about carbon fiber bodies too. When it was done, it came out like glass. It was perfect. And like all things, it settled a little bit. And we were like, no, it was beautiful. It was like a mirror. But no, it's still absolutely stunning. And even though he did such a good job on the lettering, he did all the lettering. And that was the other thing was, so we get there and some of the lettering wasn't finished. So we brought all the paint and all the pins, all the paint and gold leafing materials. And so we're in Rich Guasco's house driveway, home stone driveway, and EJ's under a canopy outside lettering and gold leafing the car.
Wow.
And I got a picture of him just like Mr. Youngblood, who did the original car. And I'm getting shots and I'm like, this is eerie. It's like the same thing. And that vibe of like, oh man, this is shade tree mechanics for real. We're under the shade of the magnolia tree in California and working on Rich Guasco's Pure Health. Like, pinch me, I'm dreaming. There's no way some little chick from Quebec is going to have that kind of experience, but yet here I am. So, wow, cool.
Awesome. So great. John, back to you, sir.
Don Gilmore says, "Hey Liz," he dropped in, and I have a question.
Yeah.
I would like to know what kind of metal is the Iron Dinosaur made of?
He's 080 aluminum. He's super thick aluminum. I think he's 080. Very, very, very thick gauge aluminum. And the reason for that is, of course, aluminum's lightweight, but it needs the thickness because when you're going at over 200 miles an hour, the entire car has to be aerodynamic. And the moment you have any slight deflection of the bodywork, that causes a disruption in the flow of the air over the vehicle. And so you need to have something that's going to be lightweight, but still resist any sort of movement at speed, because that can cause warbles or can cause deflection. So yeah, and it was all hand formed. Fun fact, it was all hand formed. So with hammer and dollies by a gentleman from Peace Dental. It's Don's dentist. So he's the man who did the bodywork's a dentist. He had never done bodywork before and never wants to do it again. And so that was his one time doing bodywork. And to beat that level, that thickness of aluminum by hand is absolutely astonishing. It's a piece of artwork. And I heard the only reason he was able to do it is because he was turning his hearing aids off. So yeah, work of art, that.
Well, Don Gilmore just asked how fast are you going to go on May the 1st?
Don, you know I'm only going to go as fast as you tell me I can go. No, I'm cleared for 210 plus. And so I'm hoping that once we have camp set up, once everything's nice and good, I'll go up. I assume Don's going to go and do a shakedown run because he usually does that because he cares about me quite a bit. I don't know why, but he cares about me quite a bit. And he goes, oh, I want anytime the car's been worked on, he usually wants to make the first run just to make sure that everything's good. Everything's in place. Nothing funky happened. And then I get to do some runs. So hopefully we'll see if I can get a white hat at ECTA. If you go over 200 miles an hour one single time, you get a white 200 hat. At Bonneville, to get a 200 mile an hour hat, you have to set a record over 200. So what EJ did with the Arden in his rear modified engine roadster with an Arden, which is a flathead with an overhead conversion to make it more horsepower, which is really cool. So to get that red hat, he had to set that record over 200. And so that's quite a tall order at Bonneville, but thankfully at ECTA, I might be able to get myself a hat. So we'll see. Knock on wood. We'll see how it goes.
Well, nice. Randy Johnston just spoke for all of us, and he said, you're not alone about Irwindale. It's a tragedy that it's gone. And with that, we're caught up.
Yeah. Well, that was one of those places that had kind of that vibe, like what I was talking about Bonneville. Like you go there and like all the things that had taken place there previously on that ground over the decades truly made it a special place. And it's beyond, I think it definitely is a shame. And I wouldn't be surprised if you hear people going, oh, these crazy kids are racing around the block and we should give them a place to race. And it's like, wait a minute, you took that away. You shouldn't have. But, you know, the powers that be, they decide things. And I just hope that racetracks in general, I hope that I've been seeing a big push for, young racers for a lot of clothing lines and TV shows and things that are gearing towards automotive world. And especially, I got to meet Maddie Gordon last year at it was at Indy, and she was running her alcohol car. And so we had raced with the Ragtime Racers at the Lucas Oil Raceway Park. And we're also friends with the Throckmortons, who put on Indy Legends, which takes place there, which is an amazing event you need to go to. So we said, well, there's people pitted in the outfield. They count. Let's go and see. And so we went over there, and there's this really cute chick working on the car with her sister, blonde chick. I'm like, wow, that's cool. She's working on the car, and the rig is like lime green, which I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. Let's go and say hi to her. And we spoke with her, and the fact that she was working on the car, I was like, you're cool. I'm totally and I asked her, I'm like, I really would love to have your autograph. And then she told us about what was happening with Ron Capps this year, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to watch this. And then now it's like she's, and I'm like, I knew it. The thing is, she's legit. People crave authenticity. She's
Right.
she's tack weld or TIG welding in the spouts for the fuel tanks. She's working doing the clutch with her sister, who also just won. And they're a family racing group, and I think that authenticity of racing is what's going to draw people. There's too much of this fake reality, and people are going to be drawn to real, and real is horsepower, fire, excitement, people winning things, and you want to cheer for them. And so I'm excited to see what happens with IHRA, NHRA, drag racing in general. I'm very excited for it, and I will try to get as much attention towards every form of racing I can, because I truly love everything. I'm an equal opportunity car lover. I love everything from import tuners to 1908, cars, anything that goes mechanical, I'm a fan of.
I love it. Well, if I've got, I just did some. We interviewed Maddie last year,
Yeah,
and she did an amazing job. And then just this year, I've got an intern, Sophia, who's helping us take all of our long form stuff and make them into shorts or reels,
yeah.
which we will do for you this week.
Thank you.
And the Maddie stuff, although it's been many months, and the same thing with Ida Zetterstrom, they are
Yeah,
blowing up. And I
yeah.
mean, they're doing great. And such an infectious attitude. And I feel like if we had you and her on the same show, we would blow up the internet. They'd
That'd
probably
be
have to come up with Internet 2.0.
that'd be
But yeah,
fun. Yeah.
she's
I'm
great.
just I'm just so stoked to see someone who's actually working on their car. There was an interview with a quite well-known female racer at one point, and she was asked how many cylinders the engine was, and I think the response was something of, "Oh, I don't know how many cylinders there are. I just drive them." And I that kind of made me cry on the inside, because I'm like,
Yeah.
man, somebody when you're from a motorsports journalist point of view, I've had the fortune of interviewing hundreds of racers and photographing so many teams, and seeing what vibe works and what vibes don't. And anytime you have like a family vibe, or people really care about each other, and it's when there's like in the way EJ does it, when there's a mistake, it's him. When it's a victory, it's us. And it's that
Mhm.
kind of mentality that really is a winning attitude. And I very much felt that with several teams that I've encountered. And I met
Mhm.
her for a very short minute, but I was like, all right, I'm
Yeah,
excited to see where this goes, because this is going to be fun to watch. I'm like so stoked. It's great.
absolutely. Yeah, we have our group, who watch us, and I love them all, and all fans are welcome, but it is more of a purist group. You could tell by the folks who John, shared comments from. We are racers, right? This is an internal racers group, and and Pete and others have, there's a pretty low tolerance for dilettantes, right? I mean, hey, everybody's welcome, but
Yeah.
the folks who
Yeah.
can really like work on them and blood, sweat, and tears and make it happen, and have the passion,
Yeah.
much appreciated around here, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Well, Liz, you qualify, but do you have a couple more minutes for one or two more questions?
I'm
Can we get
always open to chat.
Thanks. Well, let's talk about a technical insight. We've shared a lot on this already, but for fans who may not realize it, how is land speed record racing different from drag racing in terms of driving, setup, and mindset? If any in mindset, but
Okay. For example, yesterday when we got to the track, for vintage racing, you unload your car and you see all your buddies and you talk and you chit chat and you get your coffee and stuff. And then we got to wait until it's on Sunday. So we wait until church is out about 10 o'clock. And then we do our warm up laps. So that, everybody start, we all get into our cars and kind of drive around and do our little warm up laps. It's very different than how it was drag racing, the Pure Health Fuel Altered, completely different. But that kind of drag racing, the vintage drag racing, it's very much like, okay, we do our 2 warm-up laps, and then it's going to be time for us, and they call us up, and then you got to be on the ball, you got to listen, and you go through it, and then the day is done. Land speed, it's up to the driver. You are 1,000% in control, you and your team. Do you want to do 4 runs a day? Do you want to do as many runs a day as possible? It's totally up to you. So there's not really a set schedule. Besides, this is the week that you're open to go racing. So if you go and your car's running good and you've got your pickup truck or your vehicle with you, your maintenance vehicle, so you bring out all your fuels and everything you need, you can go back in line as long as you don't make a record, like you didn't attain the record. You can also run just for time only at Bonneville or so ECTA. So depending on what you want to do, if you go and then you go over the record. So for example, if I'm at Bonneville and I go and I make a run after I've done all my licensing and I go 350 miles an hour. Oh, that means I'm qualified for a record. I need to go back to impound. Then there's a set amount of time. I think it's 4 hours where you're allowed to work on the car, but only certain things. You can't change mechanical things. You can fill it up with fuel and change a few things, but there's tags on stuff. So you have to go back to the starting line and run that same run again over the record. So if I went 350 and I went 350, they take those 2, average them, and that is now the new standing record. If you go the second time and you only go 100, you got to start over. So that's very much. So then drag racing, you also have the bracket racing. So that's how we kind of approach the vintage eliminators, because you're running like little 4-bangers against flathead V8s. So you go by your dial-in. So it's really fun going to the drag strip and you've got a dial-in of 11 seconds, and then the next weekend you're trying to go 400 miles an hour. It's the dichotomy of like, whoa, I just want to go as fast as I can on whatever I'm on. But yeah, it's very, very much up to you. And they say the saying is, Bonneville is where old drag racers go to pass away. That's where you go out there and you're just surrounded by the most amazing legends and from drag racing. And I've got, on the Carbonite team, I got to know Ted Wolf very, very well. And I just saw him again at the PID thing. It's like, we started busting on each other, and his buddy, some guys there, they're like, do you know who this is? And I'm like, yeah, it's Ted. And it's just like, you get to know these people from the teams that you're working on. And then when you get to know them, you realize their drag racing history but to you, they're just a team member on the team that you're working on. And then you realize, oh, this is so-and-so. And so it definitely has a lot of similarities to drag racing, but there's enough differences that I think drag racers like the challenge of going and being on your own time, but still getting to go after a record. You're grassroots racing at its finest. You're deciding what you do. You don't have a sanctioning body telling you you've got to do this certain way. So
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, definitely grassroots, definitely the last bastion for sure. And and build your hot rod the way you want to build your hot rod. You don't have people telling you what to do as much.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And
some rules.
great shout out to Teddy Wolf, a great Pittsburgh top fuel drag racer, well known by many of us who care, and a great pal of Mr. Jack Red. Just if you guys have them together at the drags or at the land speed records, make sure you bring enough beer for all, because they'll do their part.
Ted Wolf and I finished off a bottle of whiskey at Bonneville, watching the sun coming up, talking about old school drag racing, and it was the coolest thing to get to just chat. And we were both like, "What's that?" And like, "Oh no, it's the sun coming up. We gotta go." we got stuff to do. But yeah, amazing person. Thankful.
There's always the after races, which we love. So,
Yeah.
well, Liz, let's talk about people who may want to get involved in motorsports, whether behind the wheel or behind the camera, for instance. What's one skill or mindset they should focus on developing right now? You also you sort of mentioned, just don't go away, keep showing up, and
Yes.
eventually they'll kind of let you in. And I found that to be the case with me over the years, announcing or whatever I was doing. People do want to see that passion. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
I definitely feel like showing up. You've got anything you want to do, you got to show up. You got to be present. You want to show people you care about something, you got to vote with your time and your money. And so that's truly all you can do. Your time is your most valuable thing. Money's comes and goes, but time is the one thing you can choose what to do with it. And so I think if, like, when I first wanted to work at Valhalla Auto Restoration, AJ wanted to give me the opportunity. I had zero experience on paper, and I went away to Bonneville. I came back. There was somebody else who had gotten the job, but I said, well, because they needed the job done. I'm like, well, the place is a little bit dusty. Do you want me to sweep up? I'll make the coffee. I'll answer the phones. And I made a spot for myself just by trying to be helpful and observing, like, oh, if you're there, oh, I'll wipe down the oil pan, or I'll do this. Notice, get really good at doing the menial, mundane jobs that people don't like to do. Like, I love, and I do find absolute joy in almost everything. I can find something positive about it, but I love filth, like cleaning engines. Like, that comes from my railroading days of getting to clean out journal boxes. It's like, give me an engine completely covered in grime and dirt. And when I did World War II restoration, if there was something with cosmoline on it, they would have to fight me off of it. Like, I'm the one cleaning this. I love it. So sanding, or like doing body work or sandblasting or any of the things that people that you see around you. Like, for example, when EJ's working, I see, oh, well, this is something that requires quite an experienced hand to do. If I help do this menial task and get that done quickly, then I can spend time with them learning something cool. And people really do appreciate when you show up, you care, and you try to keep not keep your mouth shut, but keep quiet. And I have my first tattoo I got when I was 16 is a question mark on my ear. And the whole thing is, keep asking questions, but keep your ears open to the answers, because if you don't have your ears open, you're not going to learn. So actually it's on this side, but it's a little question mark on the back of my ear. And so that's really the whole thing, is remember to just ask questions when you're somewhere. Don't assume you know something. That's the biggest thing. If you're working as an apprentice and you're not sure of something, just admit flat out, I'm not sure how this is to be done. I don't want to assume, because then it shows that you're trustworthy to be left on a task alone. Then you're gaining more trust with your crew, your boss, your whomever. Just be okay with, not only okay with making mistakes, but be okay with admitting that you're wrong or uneducated in a subject. Don't feel embarrassed and like you have to know everything. It's more enjoyable for people to be open and help you learn something. Give them an opportunity to be a teacher. Give them an opportunity to be proud of what they've learned over the time, and allow them an opportunity to possibly share it with you, because a lot of people just want to be appreciated and have their work appreciated. So if you see somebody that's doing a craft, if you see your neighbor's a woodworker and that guy's out there every weekend, you want to work on a shelf but you don't know how, maybe go and say, look, I'm just kind of curious, and you seem to be quite knowledgeable. And sometimes you'll be told, screw off, kid, but every once in a while you'll be told a lot of that. I was told that many times. But if you're persistent enough, eventually you'll probably find somebody who's willing to give you a chance. And once you get that chance, you hold on to it as hard as you can by being respectful, showing up, giving care, and not talking back. Keep your mouth shut and just open those ears. And that works for any trade. Truly, I have zero formal, I've been in restoration since 2017. I have zero formal trade experience. I've never taken a class in anything. I'm fortunate to be able to be the jack of all trades is better than none, but better to be better than being the master of one is the rest of that. So you could be the master of a trade, but that might imply, you can learn many, many different things. So just be open. And yeah, that works for many different trades. You want to be a photographer, you want to be a carpenter, just people are willing to teach you. You just got to find them. Be quiet and be respectful, and bring donuts and offer to make coffee, and bring donuts helps a lot. It always seems to help.
Great, great, great advice. I totally support it. But so you've been part of many, many incredible organizations and teams over the years. I know you've mentioned people helping you along the way. And who would you like to thank tonight? Do you have, this is kind of our shout out section. I know we've mentioned many people. I know you don't want to name drop a bunch of other folks, but is there anyone while we have you, we want to give a little shout out to and say thanks or?
Yeah, definitely. Well, of course, we've already spoken about Don, but Don definitely has altered the entire, direction of my existence many, many a time. So Don's a very important person in my life beyond what he can comprehend. He changed my life many, many times. And especially during times when I needed some sort of direction to my existence. It truly gave me a direction. But Allison Swank took the time to make the film Land Speed Liz, but she also had a whole crew of people with her. And now her family, her mother and father, will be there on May 2nd. They are crew for the Iron Dinosaur.
Wow.
So the fact that her and her parents, the Swanks, and her sister even was a part of it. The fact that the Swanks have not only just met me, but then have literally now planned their family vacations. The Garretts do as well. Literally the list of our team members, which changes quite a bit. I have a huge list. I would love to name each and every one of them, but the list of people that have given up any iota of their time to help either the Iron Dinosaur, to help me, give me an opportunity to race, give me any of their time to listen to any of my stories. Like, there's such a huge list, but definitely like Don, my parents, my mom and dad, my sister for putting up with me. EJ's given me more opportunities than anybody on this planet to follow my dreams. So he's probably the first and foremost person I should thank for all of this, besides my direct family and Don, because every single dream that I've ever had growing up has been coming true since I've gotten to be a part of his crew and be with him on this journey. So I can't thank EJ and his mom enough for putting up with me and letting me be a part of this, and all of his friends and racers, the Vintage Eliminators, the entire crew at EMMR, every person who's interviewed me. There's been so many amazing interviews, and I've gotten to speak to so many people who are interested in my story. And I obviously can talk forever, but the fact that people want to ask me questions, I'm always blown away, always honored, full of enthusiasm to talk about the things that I love. I've just been very, very thankful. People like Steve Strupp, who work at the ECTA, who is the ECTA, who put these events on, the time, the effort, just so many people. And then people like you who reach out to me and want to share my story. I thank you for taking the time, and I really, really appreciate every second of it.
Well, you're welcome. We love having you here, and it's great to see you with the drags as well.
Yeah,
there.
more racing.
Let's do all kinds of racing. So I need to get back out some of the other cool stuff.
You gotta come to Bonneville.
Keep hearing that.
Yeah, we're pulling you in. We're pulling you in. We're working on you.
Let me do a fan follow question. So how can fans follow along with your work, your racing, your photography, your ongoing projects in motorsports? And I know there's a bunch of places, and we can get them offline and make sure we put them in the comments. But just for folks listening right now, obviously they want to watch the film for one thing, and then tell us about the websites and other social media.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching live. I can't believe you're taking your evening to spend listening to me yammer on, but I'm honored that you're taking the time to talk to me. And I have so many exciting, adventurous things coming up that I can't wait to share with all of you. So I've been trying to do a YouTube channel. It's difficult to edit, but I have YouTube. Just look up Liz Leggett's Mechanical Menagerie. So just look up my name, Liz Leggett. It will pop up. I have all the social media accounts. So I do have a TikTok. Look up Liz Leggett. I have an Instagram. Liz Leggett Racing is where I post all of my mechanical work. I have Liz Leggett Photo where I usually do my photography work, but all of that can be found on the lizleggettphotography.com. So I have a website. The website, you can watch the Land Speed Liz film. I've started a calendar of events. It's not an appearance list, but this calendar of events is because I have so many amazing associations with people like the Throckmortons for Indie Legends, Ragtime Racers. You know, we sometimes go to IHRA, NHRA. We have the LVVR, which is the Lattimore Valley Vintage Racers, where if you want to come out and watch these vintage four bangers and inline sixes and whatnot going around the track, that's the dirt track stuff. So all of that is going to be up on my website, lizleggettphotography.com. And of course, on Facebook, you have to have a presence everywhere, but I'm trying to put everything together in one place. So the website's really starting to become that home base for everyone to find all my tomfoolery.
Awesome. Well, it's been so much fun visiting with you tonight, as it always is. Let me ask you one final question. So I don't know, I maybe putting you on the spot here, but give us one story from your time on the Salt Flats or anywhere else that most fans have never heard before. Is there something you can think of that would
Yes.
be a
Okay.
debut story?
Do you want to? It's a strange one. It's a strange one that I haven't told anybody, I don't believe.
I'm here for it.
All right. So, as we all know, one of the most famous things about the area that Bonneville is at is that is where the Donner Party crossed over and they made it into the mountains, and they kind of half made it. Some of them didn't make it at all. They made it to lunch, but that was it. So that whole area has been crossed for hundreds of years. And it was one of those places that, you know, history has happened. There's ghosts there. So one time, my dad and I were walking along. So if you go to where the bend in the road is, which is the name for the access road to Bonneville. So you go get off at the Sinclair station, you go, then you hang the right, and then you go all the way off and you get off. That's how you get to the salt. Well, if you go to the left, there's this mountain range. So there's all kinds. That's Tarantula Flats, which is aptly named because there's holes everywhere filled with tarantulas. Ask me how I know that one. So we're walking along, and there's this area that we're just kind of exploring. And my dad's off doing something, and I'm looking at the terrain, and it's just off the side of the salt. And I see what looks like a wash that has come down through the mountains. You can kind of see in the geology, because I love geology. Actually, fun fact, Don's really into geology too. You can ask him anything, he knows the answer. So I see this wash kind of coming down, and I'm poking around, looking around, and you can see like what looks like old embers of like a fire or something like that. And there's something poking up out of the salt clay mixture. I walk up to it, I'm looking, and it's half sticking out of the mud. And I kind of poke at it, and it turns out it's a glass vial with a skull and crossbones on it.
Wow.
That had washed off the mountain range. It's called the Silver Mountains. Had washed down, and this is a bottle, obviously from the style of it, from like the 1700s, that had somehow washed down out of the mountains into somewhere in the middle of this salt. And I am, the first person in probably 100 years to pick this thing up. And so I picked it up, and I have it up in my collection of oddities. Is this 100, or maybe goodness knows how old it is, I should, but it was one of the ones where it would take a glass stopper, and it has the skull and crossbones on it. And of course you're in there, and you hear the wind, and you're in the desert, and woo, gave me the willies. But it was so cool, going like, maybe it was from when the people used to cross over to get to California. And that's something I don't think I shared, because it's one of those things, it's not racing related, but it's really one of those moments out at Bonneville where you're just like, ooh, it is spooky out here. The things that have happened that, ooh, yeah, cool voice, cool place.
I love it. Liz Leggett, what a way to end this. We've had so much fun talking to you tonight. I can't wait to see you somewhere soon. But I'll go check out that racing calendar. I might add some stuff. I think I'm going to start sending folks there as a place for the one catch-all. If you, and I know we talked a little bit before the show, so I'll find a link for that, and we'll make sure it's well represented.
That
And
sounds great to me. And the more it's on my calendar, the more I'll be able to try to chalk them in, pencil them in. And if I'm in the neighborhood, I can drop by. And I love it. If anybody else has any race events or, car shows or things they want to have kind of on my list of things that I'm interested in, send them my way and I'll be able to add them on there. So my friends and all fellow racers, if they're interested and able to go, then maybe you might get some new friends. So that'd be
awesome.
fun. Let's all hang out.
New friends are the best.
I
Liz
agree.
Leggett, what a pleasure. I'm so glad to know you. I get a big grin on my face every time I see you, whether online or in person. Thanks so much for coming on tonight.
It's my absolute honor. And thank you so much, John, for your time as well. You're wonderful at reading out these questions. And I thank you for your questions too. They were really well posed. They're really good questions.
Well, we've had a couple of more people show up. Nitro Alley came in and said that she loves you. She's looking forward to seeing you at Bonneville.
Awesome.
And Panhead Pat said Don messaged her, and she's thrilled that you're doing the show tonight. So we're just absolutely blown away by your interview. This has just been one of the best ever.
Oh, thank you. I thank you so much. And honestly, I tell people I can talk the ear off a telephone pole, and they go, "There's no ears on telephone poles." And I say, "I already got to those ones," so I can chat anytime about racing. I have been fortunate, as I said, to have so many incredible experiences, and I'll be talking to friends that have known me for years, and they go, "Sometimes your stories almost seem made up because they're so crazy, but then you have photos." So I'm always willing to talk about and share any of these experiences because, yeah, it's all because of you folks that I get to have them. So thank you all for watching us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Liz Leggett, bringing receipts in the form of photos. We love you, friend. See you somewhere soon.
Love you guys. Have a great one. See you at the next race.
All right. Liz Leggett, everyone. She's so amazing. John, my gosh, how do we follow that? I guess the best thing we can do is go to JB's Take and the Racer of the Week. And it's on you now, sir.
I'll do my best here. My pick for Racers of the Week are Drew and Sarah Dominique from Lakeside, California. I've been to Lakeside quite a few times, too. I have family there. They were recommended to me by our producer, Kay Thurkelson. Thank you, Kay. Their involvement in motorsports, particularly in drag boats and fabrication, is nothing short of amazing. And I'm proud to feature Drew and Sarah tonight. I will deliver almost all of this information in first-person format from Drew Fab's website. Drew Fab was founded in 2010 to provide our customers with high-quality products at a fair price. We specialize in the high-performance racing industries, marine, asphalt, and dirt. We supply a catalog of parts, as well as engineering and machining services, whether you're shopping for available off-the-shelf parts in need of engineering services, or looking to do it all from design to production, we've got you covered. Our mission is to provide our clients with unparalleled customer service and the support they need to build, develop, market, and produce their products, develop new ideas, and improve our methods by continuously investing in training and technology, and to always follow our principles and keep our promises. We are located in East San Diego County and are dedicated to delivering the highest quality products possible, and it's always made here in the USA. Drew Dominique is the CEO. He's a San Diego State graduate with a physics degree and a passion for manufacturing. Drew began his journey in the fabrication business as a CAD designer for local companies and developing skills including MIG and TIG welding, as well as tubing and sheet metal fabrication while attending college. He also worked as a machinist apprentice for 2 years. In addition to his hands-on experience on the shop floor, Drew has worked a decade as an engineer for Solar Turbines and Velo 3D. Sarah Dominique is the vice president. She worked for almost a decade at General Dynamics NASCO, where she held various operational and management roles. With a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from San Diego State, she began her career in design engineering. Sarah then found her way into operations management and facilities project management, where she established a new multi-million-dollar panel line. She is committed to ensuring Drew Fab customers receive the highest quality and value on their products and projects. And about the Titan Black Star clutch. Back from the flames, Titan Speed Engineering was recovered from a devastating fire and has since been divided into 3 individually owned divisions, each responsible for one of the following products: oil pumps, clutches, and rocker arms. Drew Fab Incorporated took ownership of the clutch division in 2021. After a year of reverse engineering, we now have complete CAD models and stock of the renowned Titan Black Star clutch and are actively working to improve the design. Drew Fab Incorporated is SFI certified for programs. Drew's latest competitive hot rod is the Pinball Wizard drag boat. It's powered by an awesome 582 cubic inch big block Chevy engine, and it runs as good as it looks. Drew and Sarah, y'all have an outstanding story. It's been great getting to know y'all and to be your friend. Thank you. We wish y'all good luck, safe racing, and the best of times in the future. Everybody stay safe and well. You are the most important part of this show, and we love you all. It's a great way to spend an hour together on a Monday night. We'll see y'all next time. God bless America. Back to you, BP.
Thank you, John. Another great race of the week. Appreciate it. And let's go on to our segments, because I'm really excited to talk about this. Oh my gosh, Sophia Rivera is doing a great job as our social media intern. Drag Racing Live YouTube channel now has 703 subscribers, up about 10 from last week, 111,000 views. We had 100,000 last week and 2,000 watch hours. I'm going to put out a little bit of a commercial here. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, which is the minimum we need over here on the YouTube channel, to show them that we're serious about this and that we want to have them start promoting our videos and shorts a little more. We left 303,000 people over on Facebook, but when they stopped hosting our videos, they still play them if we build them here, but they stopped hosting them. So we left a lot of our good friends over there, and we went from 303,000 to 703. So obviously we have a little bit of growing to do over here, but we are growing by leaps and bounds, and I want to thank Sophia for that. And I want to thank you all. So if you would be so kind as to tell your friends and play along with us and play our long interviews to try to build up our watch hours up from 2,000 to hit that 4,000 mark that we need. I'd really appreciate it. And anyway, this is not a telethon, but I'm really pumped to show the growth here, and we're gonna move it all over here to YouTube eventually, and still got 500 videos that we have yet to put up on YouTube, if you can believe it. Lots and lots and lots of great racers to come. Upcoming guests, really excited about this. Next Monday night, Chris Miner, a drag racer, sand drag racer, and a farmer, of course. He's the son of Larry Miner. He's coming up on April 27th. Just saw Chris putting some cool stuff up on Facebook this last week. On May 4th, Mike Peck, the Instigator Funny Car March Meet winner out there at Bakersfield. On the 11th, Butch Hill from the Nostalgia Drag Racing League. On the 18th, Elon Werner from Werner Communications, also the guy that puts on this cool NHRA bracket bonanza. Don't know how many of you folks play that, but pretty cool deal as you work your cards as the NHRA shows show up. 25th, we're not going to have a show. Happy Memorial Day. On June 1st, Steve King from Pilot Racing, the Pro Mod champ, also does a podcast. And on the 29th, Jeff Atamian, the Beast Jet Car. And get the rest of those dates in June filled out, plus many, many more. In fact, Miss Kay, when she was out at the Drags at Pomona last weekend, got a ton of persons who said they were coming on here in July, including some top-level NHRA officials. So really, really excited about that. Let's go on to Lost Friends. On the 13th of April, we lost Tom Carter. Tom was a former top alcohol funny car racer in both the NHRA and IHRA. Unfortunately, passed away in an automobile accident. A UPS truck crossed the center line and struck his car. Tom was 71, and our prayers and thoughts for Tom. And a great doctor when he was when he wasn't at the racetrack. He was an oral surgeon down in Victoria, Texas. Just a super nice guy and a great racer. Tom Carter, farewell to you, sir, on 13th of April. On the 16th, one of the true legends in the sport, Kenny Hirata, passed away. Kenny from Indiana was part of the famed Hirata and Hobbs Top Gas car, one of the top two or three cars in the sport. Of course, his son racing top alcohol dragsters for years and years. Just one of the great racing families. Steve Gibbs put up a really nice memory of Kenny on the web this week, saying that Kenny was one of the short list of drag racing heroes of Steve Gibbs, who we mentioned tonight, actually, as we spoke with Liz. A true friend, an amazing and very full life. He was 98 years old. So kind thoughts and utmost respect, and to the family of Kenny Hirata, truly one of the folks who made this sport what it is. I just saw an image of him from 1959 today, where he had set top speed at an event. So he's been out there forever and ever. Also on the 19th, Dale Wilkins passed away, one of the founding members of the Outlaw Fuel Altereds down in Texas. He was just a great guy, great family man, fuel altered racer, friend to so many. And farewell to a lurch, as they called him, Dale Wilkins, passing away on the 19th. And so our condolences to the family, friends of these great racers. Thanks for the thrills over the years, guys. And, it's our sad duty once a week to mention the racers we've lost, but we're all a big family, as I think we all kind of pick up on, right? This is our big family, and we do want to remember them. So well, before we say a final farewell, John, any thoughts from you, sir?
Well, yeah, I didn't know about Kenny Hirata until you just mentioned it, BP, and I made Dave Hirata the second of all time Racer of the Week in 2013. I
Hmm,
still have his graphic and everything, from that show when I started that project. And Kenny Hirata had a very incredible life, for all that he went through and all that he survived and everything that he stood for now. He
right.
was just a great guy, a great American. And I was proud to know Dave Hirata. And Liz Leggett, what can you say, man? She was just an unbelievably fantastic person. I'm just so glad she came with us tonight. And I'm
She's
looking forward
terrific.
to Chris Miner's interview next week. We got it going on, man. But it don't get no better than this.
That's what I'm talking about. We have some great friends, and I'm so glad to be able to bring these friends on and share them with folks. And the sport is so much more than well, it's we're only talking drag racing typically. Liz is showing us tonight there's this wider range that we could be talking about, and we'll take a look at bringing some of these other folks on as well. But anyways, thanks you, John. Always appreciate your input and the great art every week, the great moderation of the chat line, and of course, promoting the show as much as you do. And let's do a final thanks. We want to thank Liz Leggett, who was just amazing. She's as I have been hinting at for weeks. When you meet her, you gotta love her, and I think she was just amazing and everything I expected tonight. John Bachman, thank you, my brother, for everything you do. Kate Turkelson, thank you. Really excited to start seeing some of the stuff. She was out there, like I said, at Pomona last week. I just got back. We kind of were all traveling around. I was in Nebraska all weekend having a great time with a family reunion. So love to all those folks. But now we're back, and we'll put everything together. And I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more of Kay's stuff coming out of Pomona. And she got a big old guest list as she went out there. Sophia Roveda, our fantastic social media intern. Thank you. Pete Moriello, who is on the line tonight. Thanks. Rob McCabe, as always, doing thousands of drag list entries. David Oakes with the great IHRA Dinwiddie pictures from this last week. If you haven't seen them, check out the front page. Mel Bashur, Ron Toombs, John Mernon II, Dave Leslowski, and Jeff Gilder, who got us our start. Also, Jeff's been out there on LinkedIn talking about Wingding TV, which is his social media video um, transportation. Well, that's not the word I'm looking for. I'll edit in later. Video basically serving videos around. Let me save myself with the words. And I'm going to reach out to Jeff and see if there's some opportunity for us to work together again and see if we can kind of maybe put some of these videos on Wingding now that we're really doing them in a consistent manner. And of course, special shout out to Nitro Alley, who joined us tonight as well and sent us some love from Pomona last week as well. And of course, thanks in heaven to Danny White, the big guy. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. Please drop a comment and tell us what you thought about Liz Leggett or anything else you want to talk about. And check in draglist.com every day to see what's new. Lots of good stuff every day, including racing news from around the world. And find us on the Radio Bob Network, which showcases our shows as well. And finally, before we say farewell, one more reminder. Next Monday night, the 27th, Chris Miner, drag racer and sand drag racer. We'll find out what he's got going on in his life, and we'll have a fantastic time doing it. So on behalf of everybody and Liz tonight and John and Kay and the rest of the gang, my name's Bill. Have a fantastic